It was supposed to be my day. My 26th birthday. The one day a year I could pretend that I mattered more than the endless noise of our family priorities. But when I stepped into the garage that morning, the space where my pride and escape once gleamed, my motorcycle, was empty. Only a faint oil stain on the concrete remained, like a ghost of freedom. For a moment, I thought maybe Dad had moved it. Maybe he was cleaning, fixing, or, God forbid, surprising me with a paint job. But then my phone buzzed. Dad, we sold the bike. It was for the family fund. Be grateful we didn't take more. I stood there, staring at the text, my breath turning to ash. 1. The beginning of the unraveling. The family fund was a black hole. It was where money went to disappear, always for some noble cause, always for us. Yet, somehow, us never included me. I stormed into the kitchen, the sound of my footsteps sharp against the tile. Mom sat at the table, sipping her coffee, flipping through her phone with the kind of calm that only comes from guiltlessness or performance. You sold it? I asked, my voice trembling, not from sadness but from the kind of quiet rage that starts in the chest and spreads like fire. She didn't look up. We needed the money. Your father had some expenses. Expenses? I spat. That bike was mine. I bought it with my savings. Now she looked up, eyes narrowing like I'd just insulted her. Don't raise your voice. We're family, Daniel. You should understand sacrifice. Sacrifice. That word again. Always used like a blade, dull from overuse but still cutting deep. I wanted to scream that I'd sacrificed enough. That every dream I'd had been sliced apart by their family fund. But before I could, the front door opened. Dad walked in, wearing that smug, self-satisfied grin that made my stomach turn. He tossed his keys on the counter and said, "Don't start, Daniel. The decision's made." "Where's the money?" I demanded. He didn't answer, just poured himself a drink, even though it wasn't even noon. That was when I noticed it, something glinting on his wrist. A gold watch. New. 2 cracks in the foundation. That night, the house felt colder than usual. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind outside sounded like betrayal breathing down my neck. When I finally got up, I heard muffled voices downstairs. My parents' voices. I crept to the top of the staircase, careful not to let the wood groan beneath my feet. Mom's tone was sharp. "You said it was temporary, Rick. You said we'd pay it back." Dad sighed. "And we will. But right now, she needs help." She. My heart dropped. Mom's voice quivered. "You mean her? That woman? You're still seeing her?" The silence that followed was worse than any confession. I gripped the railing, my pulse slamming in my ears. Dad's voice came low, pleading. "It's not what you think. She's just in a bad place. I'm helping her get back on her feet." Mom laughed bitterly. "Helping? With our son's money?" "I'll pay it back," he muttered. I couldn't take it anymore. I went back to my room and sat in the dark, my hands trembling. My father had sold my bike, my freedom, to fund an affair. 3. The quiet before the storm. The next morning, I played dumb. Ate breakfast with them like nothing had happened. The smell of burnt toast filled the air, and the sound of the kettle whistled like a scream waiting to escape. Dad acted normal, even cheerful. He talked about work, about how we all need to tighten our belts. Mom barely said a word, her eyes swollen from crying. But she wasn't the only one breaking. Inside, I was planning. 4. The discovery. A few days later, I told Dad I'd left something in the garage, wanted to check the shelf for a tool. He barely looked up from his newspaper. "Don't make a mess." The garage was clean. Too clean. But there, in the corner, under a top, I found it, an old cardboard box labeled receipts, personal. Inside were papers, photos, and something that made my stomach lurch, a folded piece of stationery. A note. "Rick. Thank you for everything. I don't know what I'd do without you. The watch fits perfectly, reminds me of you every time I look at it. Love. Clara." The gold watch. That watch. The handwriting was delicate, looping, intimate. I took a photo of the note, every nerve in my body screaming to expose him. But something stopped me. I wanted to see how far he'd go. 5. The trap. That night, I set the stage. I texted Mom from a new number, pretending to be someone else. Unknown. Hey, Clara. Thanks for the photos. Rick looked so happy. It took 10 minutes. Then I heard it, her voice, sharp as glass, shouting from the living room. Rick. Who the hell is Clara? Dad's voice followed. Panicked, defensive. What? Where did you? I came downstairs slowly, watching them from the shadows. Mom held out her phone, shaking. You said it was over. You promised. Dad froze when he saw me. For a second, I thought he'd deny it, twist it somehow. But then, his shoulders sagged. It's not what you think, he muttered. Mom threw the phone across the room. That's all you ever say. The fight escalated, years of buried resentment and betrayal erupting in one volcanic moment. And through it all, I just stood there, silent, watching the two people who'd raised me destroy each other. 6. The twist. When it was finally quiet, Mom was sitting on the floor, trembling, mascara streaking her cheeks. Dad had stormed out. I sat beside her. For the first time in years, she reached for my hand. I knew, she whispered. Part of me always knew. But I didn't want to lose everything. I thought if I pretended long enough, maybe. She trailed off. That night, she fell asleep on the couch. I couldn't. I kept replaying every moment, every lie, every time they'd made me feel guilty for wanting my own life. The next morning, I woke up to an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside was a check, $12,000. My bike money. And a note. For the family fund. You deserve better than us. Mom. But the check wasn't from her account. It was from Clara's. 7. The ending. The police found my father 2 days later. His car had veered off the highway. They called it an accident. I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't. Because when I looked at that check again, I realized something. Mom hadn't been ignorant. She'd been waiting for the right moment to let him destroy himself. And maybe, in some twisted way, she'd used me to do it. The betrayal wasn't just his, it was hers too. Because in the end, my bike wasn't the only thing they sold. They sold me.